I came up with a brand name when I was very young. Coffee has always been a big part of my culture, a big part of my world. My grandmother used to work at a coffee farm way before I was born. I remember when I was a kid, I read something about coffee being the first FairTrade product. I thought it made sense to call my brand coffee and represent something as a symbol. I really made sure that the collection was close to my heart. I took inspiration based on all the things around me. The music that I like to listen, the telenovelas that I used to watch with my mom, the Dragon Ball Z episodes that I used to watch with my brother. I would just started sketching and designing this whole collection. Once starting the production, I wanted to introduce different ways of embracing sustainability in the fashion industry. I wanted to see how I could introduce different usage of chemicals in the production. I wanted to make sure that the circumstances of employees were correct. Same goes with the packaging. I did some research into the digital world. I wanted to see how I could turn that into something real. What I realized along the way, I could have different conversations with interesting parties and people would listen. The manufacturer that we worked together with really made it happen and possible to do the whole sampling digitally. These conversations were super helpful. And even though it took many years, I'm super happy that this collection is the outcome of something great.
I am Leticia.
I'm Vinicius.
I'm a 3D fashion designer.
I'm an architecture student from Brazil, but I study here in Milan, Italy.
Yeah, I'm currently living here in Milan and I'm co-founder of Studio Acci. We are a digital fashion brand, but also a digital fashion studio. Our main service and product, of course, is the 3D digital garments. So what we do in the end is to provide to the fashion industry in general beautiful fashion editorials, scenarios, garments, all in digital.
And I'm a partner of Studio Acci. I work mainly on digital scenarios, so 3D worlds, and I've done a few of them for Studio Acci.
Well, when I first got the call from Vanessa, she was telling me the entire project and the history behind her roots, her background, so much energy she was putting into this project. And the main idea was we start to produce the digital editorial, right? The digital fashion film. So we needed a scenario. So that's why I called Vinny.
Yeah, so when she called me, she told me that there was this project that she was invited to work on, and it involved the creation of a coffee farm in 3D, which I thought was really interesting, very specific and authentic, and I wasn't expecting that. But then I said, that's very cool, and what does that have to do with Studio Acci? Because they work with fashion. Then she told me that it was actually for a fashion collection, so a collection of clothing, coffee clothing, which I thought was fantastic because it was really authentic and original and different from anything that I had ever heard of before. So I thought, let's do it.
We started from the scenario properly.
Yeah.
We started to do some research. Vanessa sent to us some pictures, also a lot of references, mood boards. Then we started
of the real places and how are the coffee farms in Colombia.
How are the plants and
yeah.
like so many tiny details we went to. And then we start the process to modeling the stuff.
Yeah.
And then what makes a coffee plant, you know, like the colors, which kind of shapes. We understood the nuances, the difference between the plantations, because this was for me new, honestly.
Yeah, we start with Cube. We used Blender, the software for producing the scenario. So there we started building everything. So that plane, after modeling and after transforming it, it became eventually the terrain of the coffee farm. Then we started adding also the plants, the sky, everything. What we did then to increase the level of detail, of course, is to then make the coffee plant move a little bit with the wind.
Yeah, we
so
added the wind.
we added the wind. So the coffee, the plant slightly moves a little bit in time, and we had to change the color so that it was adequate to a coffee farm, so it was coherent with what the scenario actually was. And then of course one part that was really nice to do, and I think it was important to have, was exactly the leaves and the coffee beans on the ground. Because if you see the pictures of the references, it's not only the coffee plants and the ground. You have also some leaves that maybe fall, or some coffee beans that maybe fell on the ground. So you have to have that also on the 3D. And that's interesting. That's actually quite beautiful if you think about it, that you have to add that. In the real world, like in the physical world, you already have everything ready. So you have always the plants, the leaves, the coffee seeds. They all have a slightly different color. They all have a slightly different detail, but it's already there. You just have to, you don't even pay attention to it. But when you work on it, when you have to create it digitally, you have to pay attention to that, because otherwise it will lose a lot of detail. It will lose a lot of
there's slightly different colors between the leaves.
Yes, you have to pay attention to those details.
In the front is like a very dark green, but in behind is another color. Yeah, like the result is just beautiful. Honestly, I personally am very proud of this project.
Yeah, me too.